Greetings and salutations, everyone! My name is Fire Mage, and welcome back to Rimworld Ascension Take 2, Episode 93. If you enjoy this episode, please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, mod list is down in the description. And with that, let's get on to the episode. Alright, well, picking up from where we left off last time, what are my plans for today? Well, as we started last episode, today's primary focus will be over here on building the garage and the airfield. And of course, repairing the bridge that got blown up. That's less important. But we will be focusing on these two projects here, and also probably the armory by extension, simply because it kind of needs to be moved. But the first thing we're going to do, that's not related to all of that, is we are actually going to connect the new generator here to our power lines. It's kind of important. So we will go ahead and get some people on that, which will be very important. Also, apparently Ra, our war casket, when using the sauna, loses their head. Interesting little visual bug there. Not actually affecting anything, but gave me a little scare. Alright, and there we go. The garage has been walled in and roofed. And of course, the airfield also has been walled in. Now, you might notice with the airfield, I actually told them to not remove this section of asphalt, and that is quite simply because I realized I should probably just make the entire airfield out of asphalt, since I don't really want trees growing here. So, save myself the hassle of deconstructing them just to reconstruct them. It looks like our roofs are collapsing a little over here, which is the biggest problem with the way we're doing this, as the garage is large enough that the roof cannot support itself, as you can see. Which, admittedly, is a problem, but nothing we can't solve. But we will worry about solving that later, as the first thing I want to do is start establishing the garage floor system. Now, I could build the entire thing out of asphalt, which is tempting, but I don't think I will. We will instead be building the main driving section out of asphalt, and then the individual parking spots will be made out of paved tiles, which, if we measure over here, should need to be about a 3 by 5, so we can amp that up to a, 5 by 6, I think, so they can have a decent-sized spot to park. Little something like this, at least for the bigger vehicles. Then, of course, we don't want the main road to just go along next to it, but instead, like this, as I do want to have space to walk around the vehicles. Not strictly necessary for efficiency, but it'll look nice. And of course, this is in the way, which is why we are going to begin moving some of it out of that room and into other rooms, which admittedly shouldn't be too terribly difficult or time-consuming, but, you know, they'll get to it when they get to it. So that right there is 6 parking spots, which is a good chunk of our vehicles. And that leaves us with the rest of this space to continue doing so. Now, I do want to have the workbench, the garage bench, in here as well, so we'll need to figure out how we want to do that. I mean, I suppose we could do something like this. Let's see, will this work? And the answer is yes, that will work quite nicely. And you know what, we'll put an extra door right here because why not? Never hurts to have a few extra doors to go in and out. So that'll be the garage workstation, and then we can put all the components along here. So we can even store more components, which will be quite nice. Although I think we will move the garage bench to be all the way down right here. I think that'll be a little bit more efficient. And that will let me fit even more parking spots in like this. And then we can just have a little spot down here for if we ever decide to build the motorcycles and stuff, which we probably won't. I even removed them from the list here, but if we want to, we have a spot for them. So we'll let them get to work on that, which should be pretty good. That is more than enough space for all my vehicles, I think. Actually, how big is the big rig? That is something I did not measure. Ah, it's a 3x6. Well, in that case, since it is significantly larger, I guess right here will be where that gets parked. A bit large and unwieldy, but it'll be fine for the most part, I think. So let's just let them work on that before we get to work on the next section of the plan. Now, while they work on those floors, I just remembered the whole roof issue. There is a few ways we can solve that, but I think the main one we will do is to simply put posts like this, even if they're not entirely necessary. Like so. Especially because these two posts are directly in the middle of my road, which is not ideal. But that should be enough posts to hold up the roof. On top of that, we also will need some sort of lighting in here, which is another thing I just remembered. So if we go to furniture, we have a few options for lights. We could do wall lights, which are nice but don't reach far enough. Outdoor lights, which most certainly reach far enough but can't be placed under a roof. And of course there's standing lamps, but those are kind of ugly. So what I will be going for is actually these floor lamps, as they will fit quite nicely, I think. We'll put one of them at the entrance to each parking lot, like so. And that should provide a decent amount of light to most of this area. I'll need to figure out exactly how to light up the entrance, but that is a problem for later. And there we go. The new garage is built in all of its glory. Now, you might notice that I did swap around the asphalt and pavement, and that is because I built some of it out of pavement and realized just how bad it looked. So I switched it over to asphalt, and I think it looks pretty spiffy. On top of that, I also put some extra wall lights up here and down here. They weren't strictly necessary. These areas were technically lit, but I just think it looks better this way. And that means that it is now time to bring all of these vehicles over here, which is going to take quite some time, but it will be well worth it. Starting off with the tanks, which we will put here. Sylvanas, what are you doing? Do not run in front of a tank. That is asking to be run over. That is one. And then we'll go grab the next one and bring it over. So my plan is we will have the two tanks here. We'll put the Wizen here, which is unfortunately a little big, but it should work fine. Probably. The big rig will go over here. The two mules will go here. Then we'll put the 2 mules right here, and then the 2 tangos right here. Just enough slots for all my vehicles. Ah, that fits quite nicely. Wonderful. Also, Tammy got run over by the Wizen. Almost died instantly. Didn't actually take that much injury, but still. I really wish my people were just marginally smarter and wouldn't run in front of the vehicles. And now that all the vehicles are in the garage, I'm going to officially check that off the list. Look at that in all of its glory. And once we get some more of these big rigs to replace the mules and those fancier rocket artilleries, we will be golden on that front. And now, next up is the armory here, which is in the way and needs to be moved. Starting off, the War Casket Foundry. We are going to move that into the laboratory because I feel like that's a science. It's weird, it's big, I feel like it goes with the science stuff. Now, as for the rest of this, at least temporarily, we will simply be moving it all down over here into the smaller armory because, well, we can't exactly design a new armory until the old one's cleared out. So, just for a bit, we will shove it all in here. We will also be deconstructing the weapon cabinets. I am not the biggest fan of them. And as for the wooden armor racks, well, we'll just move those down over here into the clothing area. And now that that's all set up, once it all gets moved over, we will begin deconstructing that. And in the meantime, I suppose we can open this up here, as we need to determine how we want to do the hallway. Now, it is going to be a bit weird, because obviously I need the hallway to get up here and connect to the garage, but I also need to make sure that I have something to put here, which I think might end up being the armory now that I'm putting some thought into it. So we'll do a little something like this. Single door because, well, it's a 5-tile wide road and I like symmetry to the best of my ability. Then we can have this hall run up and eventually connect to the airfield so you don't have to go through the garage to get there. Very important. And I suppose the new armory is, yeah, gonna go right here somehow. Still not entirely sure how we're gonna do that, but we'll figure it out once the old one is gone. Also, I just remembered, because we've now moved everything we need over here, we can officially deconstruct the old garage. How lovely. So let's go ahead and do that, and you know what, while we're over here, go ahead, give the order to remove the last of that asphalt. Same with this asphalt over here too, actually. We're going to need a lot of concrete for my future plans, and the best way to get it right now is to recycle our old stuff. And with our armory being deconstructed completely, it would seem Randy has decided to bless us with an exotic goods trader known as Blank Interstellar. Fascinating. Well, Bella Rose, go ahead and call them up. I would love to see what an exotic goods trader has for us. Alright, let's see. What are we working with here? I will most certainly take some more components. We are running quite low. I don't think I'll bother with any Glitter World medicine this time around, though. We can go ahead, sell that gene pack. It doesn't have anything we really need in it. Mild cell instability. What is that? That sounds bad. It doesn't seem... It seems like a bit of a catch-22 situation with that, so we won't bother. Well, other than selling them some whiskey, which we could do, but we're not going to because we're quite low on it, it seems like we will only be buying some components. Which isn't the best, but, you know, sometimes that's just how it is. And it's not like we don't need components. We do, especially for all the auto doors we're going to have to build eventually. Right now, my problem is designing a new armory, which I think we'll do something over here with. So let's go ahead and start off by building some mechanized armor racks, which, guess what? Take components. I don't really need a lot of them, especially for some of my plans. So I think we'll just do 5 of them for now, which means we can go ahead and make this like so. And we'll even do a little something like this, give it a little shape, keep it interesting. And the main goal is, of course, to have a spot to store all of the weapons and ammunition, because we will have a lot of those things. I think a little area like that should do for the weapons. And then some very big shelves over here for ammunition. Not the most ideal setup, but it's a start. Then finally, of course, building the hallway. Which will look a little something like this. Then, of course, we put in some doors so that it is able to be cut off if needed. Wonderful. And the floors for the armory, simple concrete. And then, of course, paved tiles for all of this, as per usual. But with that armory design done, I think I'll be leaving this episode off here with one final thing to be checked off. We have finally built and upgraded all of our mechs. I didn't notice this until just a little bit ago, but our Scyther was built. So now we have 5 combat mechs and a whole bunch of little worker drones. And we are at max bandwidth, so until we build some more stuff for that, robots are done. Which means we can check it off the list, as I said. So we got 2 things done this episode, and they are 2 very big things we have been working towards for a while, which is the garage and our robots. And now that our armory has been deconstructed, we are getting to work on the main armory, and of course, the mini armory over here. And I'll probably build another mini armory somewhere up here, near the residential area, just so that if we get attacked, there's some ammo up there. I'll go more into detail on my plans for that in the next episode, but overall, should end up pretty nice. But with all that said and done, though, I will see you all in the next episode.